Welcome to Gavels Down, Voices Up, where we flip the script on conventional legal discussions. I'm Rachel King, here to guide you through the murky waters of family law, estate conflicts, inheritance disputes, all of the dramas. We're not just talking about law, we're talking about how it affects your life, your rights, your future, and your money. From the courtroom to your living room, we bring you insights that matter. Dive into each episode ready to challenge, learn, and grow. Ready to change the dialogue? Let's begin. Gavels down, voices up. Stepping into the courtroom is such a mess. And then you add in that you don't have an attorney with you, and talk about stress. In fact, one of these statistics says that going into court can be one of the top 10 most stressful experiences in somebody's life. And if it's your case, oh my gosh, probably tops the charts. I'm an attorney, and if I have to go into deposition or into court for myself, yep, I'm just as stressed as you are. In fact, even as an attorney, I try and always have an attorney represent me if I'm in a legal situation. Fortunately, that is not most of my life. But it is fair to say that if you're feeling stressed out because you have to go into court and you don't have an attorney, you are right on track and you are not alone. And today we're going to talk all about what to do and how to represent yourself when you are going to court. As a self-represented individual, it is so hard to know what to do, what to say, and how to do it. And all you're doing is looking at other people and attorneys and thinking, oh my gosh, everybody has it more together than I do. And you know what? That's not true. Attorneys, individuals in court, represented, unrepresented, all of us have anxieties and stresses going into court. The difference is, as an attorney, I go into court all the time. Fortunately, I'm getting pretty good at it. Also, I chose a career that I really love, and so going into court is one of my natural wheelhouses. But if you're going into court and you are unrepresented, we're going to talk about all of the tips and tricks that you can do to have the best possible outcome and the resources that are available. So first, let's talk about my book, because would it even be a podcast if I didn't talk about my book that is coming out, Getting Divorced, Now What? So excited. It's going to be available on Amazon this month. I know it was supposed to come back out in October, but I just kept wanting to make changes, guys, and add in more and more information. So Getting Divorced, Now What? Is everything that I've learned as an attorney over 10 years doing family law, packaged in a way that I think will help people going through a divorce, whether they are represented by an attorney or whether they're not represented by an attorney. You can find it and get notifications at rachelkingattorney.com. You've got to remember to spell it right. That's Rachel, my name, King, King, and then the fabulous word attorney, ATTORNEY, no spaces.com. You can get all the information on my book. I would love it if you would buy it directly from my website, because I make more off of it. Amazon takes tons and tons of money. I'm not sure if anybody understands how much money Amazon takes when you self-publish a book. But Getting Divorced, Now What? That is the first resource that we are going to talk about when it comes to self-representing and the tools that are available to you. This book includes general legal information. Remember, the family law court is a court of equity, so they're trying to be fair. And chances are either you or somebody has been through family law court and it's like, yeah, it's anything but fair. I get it. But really, it's a court of equity. Knowing that the judges are trying to keep it fair can help you go through it. So I include general legal information. I also include stories of real life people. Of course, the names and the facts have been changed to protect identities, but there are real people with real scenarios and very common situations that will probably help you through your family law situation. All the legal tricks. So as attorneys, we learn legal tricks, right? Maybe no surprise there. We know what makes a judge tick. We know the do's and the don'ts. I'm going to talk about a few of those right now. But all of that is in my book. And then I also really try to show that yes, you should talk to an attorney to know what your legal rights are. And yes, you should have a therapist as you're going through a family law situation to help you learn tools to navigate it the best. And of course, you need to have your support system that will be your cheerleaders and have your back all the time, especially when you're breaking down. But what I really wanted to show in the book is that it's okay to reach whatever agreement you want is if it's going to work for your family, right? So just because you've got your friends and your family in the background saying, oh my gosh, take him to the cleaners, or don't let her get away with that, or whatever it is that they're saying, because we all know that friends and family want to come to you and give you all of the advice and tell you everything you should do based on their own experience. And that's helpful, but you don't need to do it. You get to pick something that's going to work for you. You might have an attorney saying, absolutely, you should get spousal support and half of the assets and child support and sole custody. You might have all of those things. And maybe you even think, oh, I want them. That sounds really great. But then if you step back, that's going to cause a lot of problems. Maybe I don't need spousal support. Maybe I want an equal timeshare, even though dad isn't the best dad or mom isn't ideal, but still other parent. So hear what attorneys have to say, but make a decision that's going to work best for you. And then lastly, judges know about this much of your case. And that's if they read everything and they're listening to everything, every single word you say when you're in front of them. And chances are they didn't process everything when they read it, and they're not listening to everything you say, not because they're bad people, but because they're human. And our attention spans are actually pretty short. So a judge is going to get this much information and they're not going to know you. So having them make a major life decision, like what your future is going to look like financially and with children, maybe not the best idea. So it's okay as you go through your divorce or your family law situation, or really any of them, and you're self-represented, especially if you're self-represented, that you are comfortable making a decision that's going to work best for you and your future. And I think that is an overarching theme, not only in my book, but in how I practice law, and also in my tips to self-represented individuals. The other resources that are available are webinars, workbooks. Again, I've got all of that over at rachelking.com. I'm super excited to say that coming in second quarter of 2025 or sooner, I will be having an entire webinar series on using artificial intelligence to help you self-represent. Mind blown. I love my AI. She is absolutely fabulous. I haven't named her yet, but I'm working on a name, and she's definitely a she. I have learned so much as an attorney on how to use artificial intelligence, and it can be a fantastic resource and tool for somebody who's self-represented. In fact, I was at a conference a few weeks ago, and a judge actually said that artificial intelligence used by self-represented individuals, when used correctly, can produce work product that is better than some that he sees from attorneys. Now, there's a lot of regulations on how it can be used, and typically you have to give a disclaimer that you're using AI, but still, oh my gosh, learn how to use AI to self-represent. It is going to be fantastic. Webinar coming in second quarter 2025, but if you are like, I gotta go now, I'm in court tomorrow, get yourself a login to free ChatGPT or one of the other AI softwares and start playing around with it. You can use AI to your advantage when you are self-representing. I will say that it's behind. I think it's like October of 2023 is the last time that it was updated. And of course, you don't want to rely on it for case law. You might turn into that attorney that had their AI make up a case and didn't even exist. So you want to watch out for some traps, but it can be really helpful. One of the best things that AI can be used for, insider tip, is how to make persuasive arguments, or how to learn what the opposite side would argue in a certain set of facts. You do have to know how to talk to your AI, but if you have that in your wheelhouse, absolutely utilize it. And if you want it in your wheelhouse, again, head over to rachelkingattorney.com and subscribe with your email. All of that information will be going out. Webinars, workbooks, and of course, Getting Divorced Now What, my book that is coming out next week or the week after, and will be available on Amazon, but please buy it from my website. So now we've got two resources when you are self-representing. We've got my book and we've got AI, and don't be afraid of AI. But now you're like, that's not a person and I can't afford an attorney and I really want to talk to an attorney. And you should really want to talk to an attorney. Attorneys are important because we're the only people, no matter what anybody else says, that can lawfully pair the law with what is going on in your life. If you want to know what the law is and what is likely to happen in your specific situation, only an attorney can do that because that's considered legal advice. Let's take a quick break. If you're navigating the twists and turns of divorce, you might be wondering, getting divorced, now what? That's actually the title of my upcoming book, designed to guide you through the challenging and emotional process of divorce. It's packed with real life stories, expert tips, and motivational insights to empower you every step of the way. While it's not available just yet, you can join the waitlist to make sure you don't miss out. Head over to rachelkingattorney.com to sign up to be the first to get a copy and enter to win a free signed copy as soon as it releases. Arm yourself with the knowledge to move forward confidently through this challenging time. Now let's get back to the show. And it is a really good idea to at least invest in 1 or 2 meetings with an attorney so you can get some kind of global idea of what is going to happen. Okay, so then what? We're going to meet with an attorney. That's maybe our third resource, right? So now we've got my book, Getting Divorced Now What, at rachelkingattorney.com. We've got AI and how that's going to be used. Look it up, use it yourself, or again, go over to rachelkingattorney.com for the webinar that's coming up on how you can use AI to self-represent. And we've got consultations or meetings with attorneys so that you can get a global idea of legal advice and maybe strategy. I know for me, I'm happy to give strategy when I work with self-represented individuals on a one-off situation. It doesn't mean that my strategies are not secret if you're paying me. Does that make sense? Okay. The court also has some really amazing resources for self-represented individuals. The courthouse has typically some kind of self-help or family law facilitator's office where they've got staff attorneys or staff paralegals that will also look at your situation and compare it to what needs to be done in your case. If you're getting divorced, is spousal support at issue? Is child support at issue? Are the kids even part of the marriage? You had them before, or they're stepkids? Who knows? Maybe they aren't. The family law facilitator's office will be able to help you with that exact thing. And I highly, highly recommend using them. Another resource is law libraries and even actually public libraries. So law libraries typically exist at law schools, and we have a handful of law schools in the Southern California area. Usually they'll be open to the public for some amount of time at some point. Reach out to them. They'll have all of the resources. The great thing about legal libraries, sorry, again, my mind is blanking, legal libraries and even public libraries is they often, if you have a card, a library card, will give you some kind of free access for an hour or two to major legal databases like Westlaw or Lexis so that you can look things up. And it's usually free or very low cost to do this as long as you have a library card. Utilize those services. I know when I was in law school, our law library actually had practitioner's guides, which gave exact examples of documents. So you're getting divorced, you need a marriage settlement agreement, don't know how to draft it. A practice guide in a law library will give you a template so that you can fill it out yourself. Also, another one, I don't even know now what number we're on. We just got them flowing and flowing. The judicial council forms. California, of all of the states, I have to say, has done a really great job of making judicial council forms, which are forms that are either mandatory or can be used for making filings, court filings, accessible to non-attorneys. They are available on the California court website and then also by county. Sometimes even counties have county-specific forms. For example, Riverside County has an addendum to judgment local form that is all prepared, and you just go in and check the box. Do you have kids? Yes. What are their names? What are their dates of birth? It goes through the whole thing, and chances are if you fill it out completely, you're not going to miss anything. The judicial council forms for the state of California and the counties also have a step-by-step checklist. I need to file for divorce. Here's everything I need and how I need to do it. The self-help judicial council website is hands down one of the best resources. Insider tip, when I was a brand new attorney, my very first case that I ever got was a divorce. And while I had the idea of what to do in a divorce because I'd handled it when I was a law student as in a legal clinic, I'd never started on my own. I always had an attorney I could talk to. I went as a fully licensed attorney to the California Judicial Council forms for self-help dissolution packet, and I started there and I learned there. So if an attorney is going to learn how to do things and what forms are needed in the state of California or in a particular county, you know that it's a great, fantastic resource for somebody who's self-represented. Now, 10 years in owning my own law firm, I still tell new paralegals and new people to my office, hey, if you're looking for something, go look up the self-help. It gives guides. It breaks it down step by step. Great, great resource. Probably one of the most valuable. Another resource is some pro bono options, right? There's a lot of legal aid that's out there. I know in the county of Riverside, the Riverside County Bar Association has a legal aid program. I think they're worth reaching out to. However, in my experience, they're very limited on what they will provide free legal aid. For example, if you are in a domestic violence situation, chances are you're going to qualify or that is a service that they would represent as helping with a restraining order. If you are suing somebody because they ripped you off, maybe not, right? I'm not saying they won't. I don't know the details of what these pro bono and legal aid organizations will help with, but just know it's not like anything under the sun. Call them though. Typically they have either pro bono, that's free, or reduced fee or scaled fee benefits. There's also attorneys that will typically meet with you complimentary through one of those resources. And then lastly, and I don't really know how I feel about this, I was going back and forth on whether I should even talk about it, but I will, and that is online resources, typically like LegalZoom or one of the other online resources. They can be very good if used correctly. I know you'll get lots of attorneys out there that will say, oh my God, stay away from them. And I've said it too. And I say that when I say like, oh, bad online legal services, I say it typically because I think people overtrust them, don't fully understand what they're doing, and it can really make a mess of things, whether that's family law or a will or a trust or whatever service that you're actually doing and using it for. But if you know what you're using it for and you know what you're filling out and you have some kind of understanding of the law and how it should work, they can be good reduced fee services or opportunities for self-represented individuals. All right, so now you've got the tips and the tricks and the resources for how to represent. Let's go over some of the tricks that I have learned. I'm only going to give 3. If you want more than that, then you can head over to my TikTok. You're on my TikTok right now if you're watching me live, so fantastic. Subscribe. You can also buy my book at rachel.com. I give a lot of tips in there, but my top 3 tips if you are going in as a self-represented individual are these. 1, treat any in-person court appearance as though it is exactly what it is, a very professional, life-changing event where you have one person, one human being, even though they're a judge, one human being that's about to make changes and orders that are going to affect the rest of your life. That is a huge situation. Treat it like that. Make sure that you're on time. Make sure that you dress appropriately. Make sure that you're putting out what you want to be received. So I want the judge to respect me and believe me, so I'm going to make sure that I'm presenting exactly that. Turn your cell phone off. Be polite to the deputy. Be polite to the clerk. All of the things. Treat it as a professional situation that it is. So that's my first tip. Treat it professionally. Have all of your manners, right? Everything that your mama taught you, you're going to put into play in the courtroom. Unless maybe you had a bad mama and then you need to go and do some Google searches or watch some other videos. But treat the court proceeding professionally. Number 2, make sure that you know the rules ahead of time. So for example, in most court proceedings, you have to file paperwork and serve it a certain amount of days in advance of the hearing. There's no smoking gun like you see in television shows. It doesn't work. So you want to know the rules generally, how under the law, but you also want to know if there's any local rules like for the counties or if that particular judge has any rules. Judges get to set their own rules in their courtrooms. So for example, if a judge in a particular courtroom I once went in said, I know that you can file paperwork 15 days in advance. I would like you to file it 20 days in advance because of this. Or I know that you don't have to file any paperwork, but I'm going to have you file something. Know your judge's rules. So you want to know your judge's rules, you want to know the county rules, and you want to know the overall rules, and you want to comply with them. If you have to file and serve paperwork a certain amount of time in advance, file and serve your paperwork a certain time in advance. And if for some reason you can't, you got really sick, or you had a life issue, or your printer jammed, or your dog ate your homework, whatever the case is, you want to be prepared to acknowledge that with the court. Yes, Your Honor, I knew I was supposed to file this 15 days in advance. I'm so sorry. My mom got really ill. I had to go and visit her. I couldn't get it done. Acknowledge what you were supposed to do and own that you didn't, and then go from there. So I need a continuance, or whatever it is you're asking for. Understand that even with the best excuse, the judge can't look at or hear information that hasn't been provided to the other side. Why? Because we have that pesky thing called the Constitution that affords due process, opportunity to be heard, and all of those protections that make it so that you have a right to defend yourself. So yeah, maybe you're not defending it, but the other person, they have those same constitutional protections. They have a right to know it in advance. So you've got to understand that. First tip, treat the proceedings professionally, everything you can imagine. Second tip, understand the rules and then follow them. And then the third, practice, prepare, all of the things. Going into court and not knowing what you are going to say is dangerous for an attorney or an individual. You want to have a point. You don't want to write it out in a narrative form because chances are judges aren't going to let you read your story. Bullet points are okay. I would like the court to order custody and visitation because while in the past, for the last 10 years, it's been mutually agreed upon, there have been some issues recently that I think are causing conflict, and having a court order on custody and visitation will relieve that conflict. I would like the court to order joint legal, joint physical custody with a visitation schedule that is 2 on, 3 off, 2 on, so that it's an equal timeshare based on the fact that me and dad live 5 minutes away from each other. We have a strong relationship with both of our kids. This will allow our kids to have as much time with both parents as possible without going extended periods of time without seeing them, because our kids are 5 and 7, and it is really a long time for them to go 7 days without seeing mom or 7 days without seeing dad. Therefore, I would like the court to make an order that grants joint legal custody with a 2-2-3 visitation schedule and leave it at that. All right. So then other party comes in and they start going down the rabbit hole. That's ridiculous. They work all the time. They've never had any time with the kids. 2-2-3 doesn't work. All of the things. You're not going to go down their rabbit hole. You're going to stick with your story. And that's why preparation is incredibly important when you go into court. You don't want to get sucked down defending yourself or calling them a liar. You don't want to tell all of the details to the court that really are not relevant. I'll tell you, the court doesn't care that you guys don't get along. The court already knows you don't get along. Why? Because you are in bloody family law court. And nobody that gets along even a little bit wants a judge all up in their business. So the court knows that. The court doesn't care who cheated. The court doesn't care about all of the things that tick you off emotionally. Doesn't matter. And it's really easy as you go into court to start going down all of the reasons that dad is not good or mom is not good and the history, and oh my gosh, stay on point. You have about 5 minutes. I think the last time I talked to a judge, they said that it was 5 minutes per motion hearing on an 8:30 calendar. If you've been to court, you know that most of them are set at 8:30 and then everybody gets heard at some point, but you're all sitting in court at 8:30 a.m. Why? Because you're going to be on time. So you're probably going to be sitting there since about 7:30. All right. You might be in court all the way until 11:55, but you're still only going to get that 5 minutes. If you waste it saying something that isn't going to be helpful, you've wasted your time and the judge doesn't have the information they need. That's why you need to practice, because if you practice, you'll focus. If you prepare, you'll be on track. Bullet point. If you cannot afford an attorney, you will be okay. You want to go back and re-watch this, listen to it, take notes, all of the things. If you're watching me on live, it's going to be on Gavels Down, Voices Up, which is my podcast. You can get it all over. So don't worry if you haven't had a pen and you didn't take notes, go to Gavels Down, Voices Up. You'll see this entire episode all over again. And now you have the resources, you have the tools, and you have the tricks to be as successful as possible going through a self-represented situation, whether it's family law, divorce, custody, or even a small claims case because you're suing because somebody ripped you off. Until next time, my name is Rachel King. I am a litigator. I so appreciate you watching, and I would love to know if you implemented any of these tricks and if they worked. Even more so, I'd love it if they didn't work and what you did to overcome them, because then I can learn and I can share. You guys have a wonderful holiday. I'll see you next time. That wraps up another episode of Gavels Down, Voices Up. If you found value in our discussion today, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs these insights. Your engagement helps us grow and impact more lives. I'm Rachel King, thanking you for listening and reminding you to speak up, because every voice deserves to be heard.